All right, welcome to episode 4 of Stars of Tomorrow podcast. This is Heather Cannon. I am the executive director of Uniting Distant Stars, where we're serving youth in Liberia with educational and vocational training opportunities.
Hi everyone, my name's Kevin Na. I'm a volunteer here with Uniting Distant Stars. I've had the pleasure of knowing Heather since I was in high school back in 2013, and it's been really awesome being able to be a part of this. So again, thank you as always, Heather. Let me co-host this with you.
Wow, this is 12 years. Wow. Well, we should probably say Happy New Year to everybody because last time we did this, it was still 2024. So we want to make sure everybody has a wonderful 2025. You got anything to add to that?
Oh yeah, I mean, I feel like January's gone by a bit too fast. Like we're already at the last Sunday in the month, the first month. So it's been a fast-paced first year. But yeah, happy New Year to everyone. Hope you had a great holiday, spending time with your families. But yeah, looking forward to bringing in the new year here.
All right. And that's a great segue. You talked about how time moves.
Oh yeah.
And the theme of our podcast is investing time in yourself. We always hear the term, invest in yourself. And typically that means money, which that is important because if you don't invest in yourself, you don't grow. But part of that comes with time. And we really want to make it clear we're not talking about time management. I'm not a believer in time management because time is always moving. We have no control over the flow of time, but we have control in how we use our time. And that's kind of what we want to talk about today. Um, this is something that I think we're all practitioners of it. I don't think anybody's a perfectionist in how
Right.
they utilize their time, but it's something we need to be conscious of. And sometimes we're not conscious of how we use our time. We can be in front of the TV, we can be scrolling on social media, and all of a sudden, 3, 4, 5 hours go by, and I'm like, I didn't get anything done.
Right.
So, we're going to try to give our own personal examples of how we do this. And one of the things that I can say for sure is that I did do a analysis of my time, and I'm like, okay, I need to stop doing this. So let's say you want to work out. You can sit in front of the TV or you can sit in front of a podcast or whatever, or you can work out while you're watching or listening to that because sometimes there's certain things you can multitask, and that's like one of those things because then you're not regretting that you just wasted an hour because no, you were doing something good for your body. What are some examples you have?
Oh yeah, certainly, definitely. And working out's a pretty good example because that's one of the things where I try to fit into my busy schedule during the week. With full-time job and everything. But actually, recently at the beginning of the year, it was probably the second week. I had 3 days off. I had taken 3 days off. So Tuesday through Thursday, that's usually when I would possibly be going, well, really be going to the office. So I had all that time, and it's like usually when you take the day off, it's like, oh wow, when you're like not doing anything, you just have so much time, and it's like, okay, what do I do? And the goal is always to be productive. So for me, I definitely spent that time, just getting some errands done, getting supplies for the house, for my house here. Whether it was just doing that or, just checking up on some of the things that I was working on for either for this, for example, just kind of like researching, how to, put a description together. So I'm an avid podcast listener. So I just kind of, looked at some of the podcasts I like listening to and kind of like see like how they, put their descriptions together, and just to use that as an example of how to put this one together. So that's what I did there. And I took some time to just spend time with friends. Just given our daily schedules as adults, we don't really get that much time to hang out or spend time with some of our friends. So definitely took the time to do that. So after those 3 days, I just kind of like thought back and like, huh, you know what? I was pretty productive today. Because I possibly could have just like sat in the house all day watching TV, which honestly, it does get boring sometimes because it's like, okay, I mean, it's great to like be relaxing, but it's like I'm not really, doing anything for myself personally. I'm not really gaining anything. So, um, finding that balance between, just resting, but also, at least being productive in some way, is something that I try to find a good balance of.
No, that's a great example because again, you had options. And I think we forget that. We use the terms I'm too busy, or since I'm in my 50s, I'll say, "Oh, I'm too old," or there's not enough time for me left. Well, there is,
Right.
you just have to make the time. So like last year I decided to take an Excel export certification expert certification course and learning. You knew Excel. I've been doing Excel for a few decades now, but
Mm,
there's stuff in there I never had exposure to before. So it wasn't something where it's like I can do it one time and I'll be fine on the test. No, I had to practice.
right.
So like our vocational trainees over in Liberia, it's like you can't learn the skill one day and then just put it on the shelf for 6 months and then come back to it and be proficient and be quick at it and stuff like that. It's this continued practice. And then even though I passed the certification test, I keep utilizing it because
Mm,
when you put the time into it, you want to keep utilizing it because, yeah, it's easy to just stop doing it. I don't need it and forget about it. But no, you want to, that's how you learn and grow is learning, like reading, whatever. If you put the, we can watch TV. Sometimes I call that mind numbing stuff, or we could read books like professional development, personal development, whatever, history, whatever you like to read, and you're learning and you're growing and you can apply the knowledge or whatever. So for me, that was something I did last year, and I'm an avid reader now. Like when I was a teenager and 20 something, I was not. It was something that came to me more in my 30s on up, and I keep challenging myself how many books, but then again, some of the books I'm actually taking notes because it's like,
mm,
oh, that can apply to me, and that's something I can start utilizing now. Great example of that. I read this book in 2019. It's James Clear, Atomic Habits. So he's looking at habits from the smallest particle, which is an atom, and
mhm.
how if you do small things and then build on those small things, you can develop a habit. So every year at the end of the year, I examine what I did, what do I want to change on my habit tracker, because I actually track it, and like how many books I want to read, what are my goals for workout and stuff like that. And it makes you want to make sure you make time for yourself because
Right.
it's like these are healthy things for me to do than sitting there doing something that, sometimes TV is great, but I was an addictive television watcher when I was a kid. It was horrible. I mean, I
Yes.
watched so many shows, hours and upon, even my 20s. That's why I wasn't a reader. So when you identify those things in yourself, you want to make sure you create healthy habits. And so we can have excuses. I don't have enough time. I'm too busy. But when you really look at how you use your time, when you wake up, you're like, oh no, I do have time.
Right. And I like how you brought up like, how you use your time when you wake up because I do have I'm sure we all know people that kind of like, sleep in until like midday or something, like maybe on the weekends or something like that. Me personally, I don't think I can do that because it's like my thinking is sleeping in until noon is like half the day is pretty much already done.
Mhm.
So it's like I mean, it's like I just feel like, being able to find something to like be productive out of that day. I mean, again, not saying that you have to like always be working, but just like using the daylight that's out there. Like yesterday, I didn't have much going on. I honestly didn't really know what I was gonna do yesterday, but one of my friends they called me up. It's like, hey, we're gonna be going over to a friend's house because he was doing a housewarming, and I'm like, oh, you know what? That sounds cool. I didn't really have anything else planned the day, so and it honestly was going to be better than just staying inside watching TV all day. And
Hmm.
just wasting time. So yeah, it's definitely good to be able to like find outlets or things that you can, get into. Um uh, like you said, reading books. I mean, I'm not really much of a book reader. I mean, if I were, I'd probably listen to audiobooks, but that's another story. But like, just like, like looking up how to do things. Like you mentioned you were doing an Excel certification. Um, there's one that I'm working on myself, that I do at work, at least when I have some time to myself. So like just finding things that, do to like, improve yourself. And even if you have hobbies that you like doing, find ways that you can like, use that to your advantage.
Yeah, because I have this philosophy, I never want to grow up because then I've stopped learning. It's kind of
Right.
like, because when you're learning, you're continually growing and it doesn't matter what age you are. And so, I'm a curious spirit. I like to discover and learn new things. And I got into like learning through astrophysics up to quantum physics, which most people are like, that's crazy, but it's
Yeah.
interesting because I read Stephen Hawking's book, A Brief History on Time, which is like there is no brief history on time. Time just keeps going, and there was a lot that happened throughout the universe and stuff like that. But it's interesting. The more you can understand different topics you might be interested in. I'm reading a book right now, How Ego is Your Enemy. I find that one fascinating because I'm one always battling with my ego because we all have one.
Yeah.
And so there's something we can gain from that knowledge and that experience. And as a young person, I've been there, I've done that. You look ahead and you think you have all the time ahead of you. And
Yeah. That's
then you
dangerous
turn a
thinking.
certain decade and then you look back, it's like, oh boy, did I waste a lot of time.
Right. It's like being like that's a dangerous mindset to have, just thinking like you have all the time in the world, because we all grow older, and it's like once you reach a certain age, you're probably not able to do certain things you could do when you were younger. So sometimes it's probably better to just, take advantage of the time you have now to, do what you can, before it's a bit too late.
Yeah, and or you have more time to experiment and test out the waters, and so yeah, and again, I think one of the biggest challenges when I grew up, you know, cable was just coming around when I was a teenager. Cell phones came around when I was an adult. um, there's more things to distract us and consume our time. And so part of it is really discipline. You like, okay, I'm learning a trade and I want to create my business. Well, that's not going to happen if you're not putting the effort and work into it. If you're just out there scrolling and liking people's posts because you thought they were funny or whatever, you are not going to learn or develop or experiment, do your trial and error, whatever,
Right.
by doing that. You're just going to delay that progress. And the longer you delay it, the harder you're going to find yourself getting into it. So there's a lot of discipline here, and you want to surround you with people that might can encourage you to stay focused, to focus on what matters, because it's really an imaginary world in the social media because everybody's like posting whatever, but it's really about what you do in your own time to make things happen. And if you want to post about that, hey, this is what I learned, or this is how I launched my business, that's
Yeah.
one thing. But if you're just out there bluffing, like, okay, I'm doing a selfie here, whatever, I mean, that's not fortifying your life.
Right. I mean, I will say selfishly, I'm just gonna say this personally for myself. I am a little disappointed that TikTok came back. I mean, but
And why? Tell me why.
okay, I never really was in on the whole TikTok thing, because first of all, TikTok is just pretty much what Vines is. I mean, well, anyone that's like my age knows what Vines are or what they
Please
were.
explain.
Yeah. So Vines, they're pretty much what TikTok are. They're just like, these short little videos that people edit together and like make and people like laugh about them. It's like that's pretty much what TikTok is, except it's a bit more enhanced because you've got like TikTok Shop and things of that nature. But it's like I just I don't really try to like get a lot of social media. I mean, I guess the few that I have, I try to use it for, I guess, promotional purposes for the most part. I mean, every now and then I'll scroll on like Twitter or maybe Instagram, maybe Facebook, but like but mostly I'm just trying to like get stuff out there that I'm working on.
Mhm.
Uh, that's just me. And interestingly enough, I found this out by talking to one of my friends this gone Thursday that the the phone app for CapCut got taken away for video editing. So
Mm.
CapCut's a video editing software that has a website and has a mobile app. But apparently that got taken away, but for some reason they decided to bring back TikTok. I don't really
And
understand it.
who made CapCut?
I think it's the same to
The Chinese app?
I believe so, but like I mentioned, it's really just for video. It's really just video editing.
Hmm.
Um, so it's a bit more sophisticated, in my opinion, than TikTok. I know that might be an unpopular opinion for most because everybody loves TikTok, but I just found it funny how they took away, in my opinion, a useful app, but they brought back the most useless. Again, that's just my opinion.
You I was listening to I listen to a lot of podcasts too, and I can't remember who it was, but they said their two teenage children were happy TikTok was gone, and then they were unhappy that it came back, but they cannot delete it because everybody's on it. So it was kind of like it was very freeing when it was taken away,
Right,
but then again, it's like it's become like a social gathering place where if you're not on it, you're not cool or whatever. So I just found your perspective interesting too, because in many ways these things can become crutches. Like you need them to support your life somehow. It's
right.
like, it's and it's good to have that younger perspective and how they feel. I personally have not, I'm aware of TikTok, but I haven't gotten on it. I see a lot of our Liberian youth are using it. Some are actually doing dancing and building up their
Oh
dancing
yeah, yeah, of course.
crave, which is
Mhm.
fine. But again, it can be something where people can consume a lot of time. And also, what I liked what you said earlier is that when you had an opportunity to go to a friend's house to a housewarming, social media doesn't always give you that in-person time. It keeps you in the virtual world where you're just talking to people online instead of putting your phone down and talking to people, because part of growing and building your career is also networking, and networking can be a housewarming party. It
Oh
can
yeah.
be a birthday party. You never know.
Yeah, and I will say the thing about social gatherings, it's like it's not something you can really simulate or emulate online. It's just not the same. Like take, working from home compared to working in the office. I mean, for a moment in time, I was working completely from home before going to a hybrid schedule, and it's like, sure with you when you work from home, you're able to still communicate with people, but there's just something about being in an office with other people and you're able to, laugh or, like collaborate in that sense, like person to person and rather through a screen. That's just what I find very different. And just going back to my example, I enjoyed going because we actually ended up playing a few games there, and it's like just being in a group of like everyone's laughing, having fun. It's like
Hmm.
you can't really have that if you're like online.
Right, right, right. Yeah, so there's a lot of benefits of how to use your time in learning, interacting with people. Um, every one of them has a benefit, and it's kind I don't want to use the word lazy, but it's kind of lazy when you sit at home and you do, rely everything online, or you spend time online. I'm not sure, that's not the right word I'm looking for, but it's just, it's really just sometimes it's fear. Maybe your fear of doing something or fear of interacting with people. But
Yeah.
I think it was Wayne Dwyer who said fear is false evidence appearing real. And a
Oh,
lot of times we create our own fears. So again, it's okay to be uncomfortable because
yeah.
that means you're ready to grow, you're ready to
Right.
learn. Um, so think about, think about what you're doing with your time right now. Like just for a day, okay, I got up, I did my normal routine in the morning,
Mhm.
I went to school, but after school, I might have, okay, I had to do some work around the house, but then I just sat in front of my phone or front of my TV. Um, should it part of that time been homework time? Maybe the social media and TV should be after you do something and then you can reward yourself with that time. But did you get your homework done? Did you practice learning whatever trade you're supposed to learn? You're trying to build a business? Did you connect with people that might help grow your business?
Right.
You know, time is like I said, there's no such thing as time management because time is going to flow regardless. It's what we can control, and that's how we utilize our time. And so right now, I have a full-time job. Like again, Kevin and I both shared we're in the financial industry. We work with two different companies. However, I'm also trying to do work for this organization, United Innocent Stars. So
Mhm.
I've actually put calendar time out there that I call my office hours for UDS. And so I
Right.
have 2 evenings and Saturday are my office hours. So I can get things done to move the organization forward because I don't have a paid staff yet
Right.
and someone's got to do the work. But if I don't dedicate that time, if I just kind of throw it up in the air and say, oh, maybe I'll get this done today or not, it's not going to happen. So
Yeah.
sometimes everybody, if you don't have one, you can download a calendar app on your phone and you can actually dedicate time on your calendar. And again, sometimes it's got to be flexible, sometimes life happens, but for the most part, you're always going to have that time for you to focus on what's important.
Yep, and I'm glad you said that because what I've been doing recently, I have an iPhone. I'm an iPhone user. So there's an app on the phone called Reminders.
Mm.
So what I do to sometime like remind myself, I'll put in a reminder and I can set a date to it for that reminder. So just like take example like today. So when we discussed when the next episode was going to be recorded, just so I'd be able to, keep track of when that was going to be, so I didn't like overbook today, just put record episode 4 with Heather for the January 26th. So I put it in the reminders app, but it also syncs to my calendar. So every time I like go by the calendar app, it'll kind of like give me a little preview and it has that item right on there. So I've just begun doing that recently for a few other things. But yeah, that's really just a good example, like what you had mentioned about like, having a calendar or even like I guess going back to when I was in college, I had a planner, like a
Hmm.
notebook planner.
Oh, a real physical planner.
A physical planner, correct. To just say like, of course they're like divided by subject and everything like that. So it's just a way to like keep organized. And another tool that I used, I will admit that I did this at least, I want to say at least my freshman year, was I kind of I went online and found like a schedule builder for like
Mm.
my class schedule because I just wanted to like make sure I was making sure I had everything down. So at least that first year, those first couple semesters, I went and made I used a schedule builder to make my schedule, just to kind of get things down. So it's like, okay, I have like a schedule now, so I can kind of like, see what time I have. And it was very helpful, especially like when I started working on campus as well. Because of course you've got like classes you've got to go to, but then you've got like a
Mm.
shift or two during the week. So yeah, definitely stuff like that usually helps with just giving yourself little reminders and just giving you a visual because I'm a visual person. Just a visual representation of like what you've got going on.
Right. And then the other thing is too, I think we talked about, analyzing how you're using your time, how to use your time better, tools to help you, uh, make sure you're doing what you need to do during allocated time. And then there's times, when you accomplish things, take those little wins and celebrate. And I'll have to share this link in there, but not every celebration has to be where you go out and spend money and drink or whatever. It can be a high five to yourself.
Right.
It can be your own pat on the back. I found this thing and I loved it, so I'll put a link in there. But it's just like these small little things you do. You could sing a song, you could do a little dance. It doesn't have to be anything extraordinary. It's just a way of saying, "Hey, I did it. I focused, I would discipline myself, I had put this time in, and I actually now understand this math issue, this math, whatever
Right.
math you're working on, or I mastered this skill, stuff like that." Because without putting the time, you're never going to get good at it.
Right.
You can just do so work and you're going to get so out of it. So you really want to make sure that if you want to be successful, you want to be competitive in this global world, um, investing time in yourself, which is the theme of this podcast, is crucial because you will leave yourself short if you don't.
Yeah. And one of my favorite athletes, at least when he was playing, but still one of my favorite athletes, Tom Brady.
Mm-hmm.
Just like listening to some of the things he did to prepare himself and put him in those positions to achieve all the success that he did. Because he wasn't really one of those college quarterbacks that was highly recruited or touted. When he was coming out of college, he was actually drafted in the sixth round, and ended up being, well, in my opinion, the greatest quarterback of all time. But just listening to how he prepared himself, even when he was a backup, he still had that mentality to go out there as if he were the starter. He was still preparing for games as if he was going to be starting those games. So I think though that's what really ultimately brought him to the success that he ended up having.
So he put his mindset there.
Oh
Yeah, it
yeah,
was,
yeah,
yeah, he saw himself as the starter, even though he wasn't the starter yet. So he knew where he wanted to go. He didn't limit himself to say, "I'm just going to be second string." No, I might be here, but I'm going to shoot for the stars. And I think that's another great point, because when you're investing time in yourself, you're going to progress. You're going to say, "Okay, I started here, but I want to get to this level in the next 6 months." You will get to that level if you're putting in the time and the work. But if you're not putting the time and the work, you're going to stay at the original level you did, where you started from. I think that's a great example, because if we just, sit on our hands and hope that all of a sudden we're going to be able to do this, it doesn't work that way. You got to put in the work and the effort, and that requires time.
yeah. Yeah, and just going back to preparation, another uh, athlete that I enjoy I enjoyed watching, at least when he was, well, he's a bit out of my generation, but I know him because of he's been a sports broadcaster for like CBS, Fox Sports. He's even got his own successful podcast right now on YouTube. But Shannon Sharp,
Okay.
he's a Hall of Fame tight end.
Mm-hmm.
Played with the Broncos and the Ravens. It was just one of the quotes he said. I was watching during one of his, I think it was when he was still working at Fox. He had said something where someone said he said the word luck, and he's like, and his quote that he said was like, "Luck is when preparation meets opportunity."
Mm-hmm.
So there's no
Yep.
there's no such thing as luck. It's just being prepared for it, and then when you get the opportunity, they're just supposed to shake hands.
Yeah, and again, the preparation was making the time to practice, perfect his skills, and and again, that was daily work. It wasn't something, like I said, you do 1 month and then you wait 6 months to return to. I think that's great. I read a couple books now. One was original by Adam Grant, and of course, Ego's Your Enemy by Ryan Holiday, and they both brought up Jackie Robinson,
Hmm.
and Jackie Robinson integrated baseball, and he had his time was a little bit different. Not only did he have to work on his skills, he also was pretty much as a young person, he was in gangs or he wouldn't put up with racism or stuff like that, but he had to also control how he was going to react to things as part of that integration process when he was brought on to the Dodgers, and he had to work on that too, because sometimes there's a mental fitness you
Yeah.
sometimes have to do. And because basically, if anybody, said bad things or spat at him or whatever, he didn't look like the bad guy then. It was the other
Right.
person that looked like the bad guy. And he was the one that helped integrate baseball. And he was also an excellent player. So he had two things. He had to show that he could do the skills, but also what type of player was he representing.
Right.
And again, sometimes as a young person, like Kevin and I talked before about having those customer service jobs, it really builds up your interpersonal skills. Those interpersonal skills is something that can make or break you, because if you're rude, you're not going to get too far in life. So, so, so developing your mental fitness means you have to learn, there's certain things that are not acceptable. We're not saying that you have to take everything, but
Yeah.
it's how you approach that situation, and you have to teach yourself not to react where you respond, not in a way that's going to support the problem. You're going to add
Right.
to the problem. And so those are very important things, is how do you um, build yourself up in a way that helps yourself, both in your skills, your learning, your interpersonal skills, because you got your skills and how you do something, but also how you interact. All that takes effort, and all of that you want to dedicate your time to say, okay, how do I deal with this situation?
Right. I do have a question for you, Heather. Would a person's environment maybe determine, I guess their willingness to learn or manage their time well? So let's just take, for example, someone someone in the United States here who has access to all this technology, and what have you, and then you have someone that's maybe in not really a third world country, but maybe not the same access to said technology and things. Do you think that might like someone's environment might have an effect on how one person uses their time?
No. Um, when I went into Liberia in 1998, we went to a school that was being run by 6 university students. The school had nothing. It had bamboo slats on cement blocks, and it had a blackboard that was just, board painted black. There was
Mhm.
nothing, no materials. But one of the students was able to remember and recite the Emancipation Proclamation. So I think it's adaptability.
Okay. Hmm.
You know, there still has to be a hunger, that you
Right.
want to learn or you want to do something differently. I think there's still a little bit of that. Some of our students, I can't think of his name right now. One of them, I met him and I interviewed him. He's an academic student, and since age 11, he's been selling in the market.
Right.
And he was somebody that his parents are too poor, they can't support him. So he decided to fund his own education. And he also wanted to prove people wrong, because some people think he was slow, that he was stupid.
Hmm.
And he was determined to show, no, one, I'm going to support myself through school. Two, I'm going to do well in school. So
Right.
circumstances are there,
Hmm.
but I think if someone wants to do something, they can. They're going to figure it out. And I think we've seen a lot of good examples of that, especially out of the continent of Africa.
Oh,
I
absolutely.
mean, you look at Nelson Mandela. He spent
Yeah.
27 years in prison, but he was still, even though they couldn't physically, like a lot of times, communicate, he found ways. Just they created this so-called, I read his book, it's a good book, how to like to have their own little newsletter, just the way they did it. But it was,
Mm.
I can't remember exactly what it was, a piece of paper or something they passed around. They got a way to do that. But it's really, I think it's knowing what you have available, again, what resources are available. And now we know in Liberia, more people are going to have a cell phone over a toilet,
Right.
you know, and we know that social media worldwide, most people are on social media now. And it can be good in connecting people, but it also can be bad in just dulling their minds
Oh yeah.
with scrolling, you know? so, so, and I think that's what's important here is because over there, like here, you and I pay a monthly service for our internet, it's unlimited.
Mhm.
Over there, they're using mobile data. So
Gotcha.
they have to be very economic with their social media. So I would say if you're going to spend $2 to get yourself maybe 3 gigabytes of data, use that wisely.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, you can do a little checking in, but at least use half that time to do something that's going to benefit you.
Yeah. It's like when you go on YouTube and you fall down the proverbial wormhole.
Yes, been there, done that. Guilty as
Right.
charged. Guilty as charged.
Oops,
Yeah, so
giant.
yeah, so it's just yeah, I just think I see that sometimes as a problem because some of our youth are very good at promoting if they graduated from our vocational training. They're good at promoting their businesses, and then some of them are not. They're just out there doing selfies, whatever. They're not,
Right.
and it's like we live in a world right now, especially in Liberia, you never know who you're going to start connecting with.
Right.
That you're okay, this is the catering I'm building, this is an electrician business I'm building, whatever it is. You're eventually going to get more people interested in what you do. And so I think young people here, I think one of the things we keep hearing here is a lot of young people, their whole lives are online. There's a, a high level of depression and things like that that comes with it. And it's not necessary. I mean, everything is a double-edged sword. It's got its good and its bad side,
Right.
but it's how can you, it's addictive. I think a lot of
Yep.
people is addictive. How do we get them, or how do you as yourself get yourself to say, okay, how can I wean myself off and give myself time? Because even when you're a bit addictive, if you can give yourself 10 minutes a day, that's something.
Right.
It doesn't have to be a lot to get yourself going. And then once you get 10 minutes, like, well, maybe I want to move up to 20 minutes because I actually feel pretty good of what I got accomplished,
Yeah.
you know, scale up from there.
Yeah. Just keep building on top of it. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, yeah. No, but that's a good question. In some parts of the world, certain countries are more restrictive. So,
Mm.
yeah, it might be a little bit challenging. But I think for Liberia, especially just being there last October and just building, we have the Facebook group, and I'm connected with a lot of them. I can say for them, probably half and half, it goes either way. Someone's doing something that's bettering themselves and other people. It's just out there showing off.
Yeah. And you could be showing off your business.
Right, 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 right. And that's why I wanted to have this topic because I think, again, like I said earlier, when you're young, you think you have all the time in the world. And as each decade flies by, they go quicker.
Right. It's like who knew that one day you're turning 20 and then the next day it's like you're almost 30. It's like
Yes, yes, yes. Or
it's
you're
a
almost
it's a
60
big
for some of us.
it's a big time jump.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, I don't want to ever say it's too late either. It's never too late to reevaluate how you use your time. Because I like when I see some 80 or 90-year-old graduating from college,
Yeah.
it's like, and they have the right mindset. They have the right mindset knowing I still have opportunities. As long as I'm living and breathing,
Correct.
there's still opportunities. And I think that's what needs, time is how we utilize it. Like I said, we can't control time, but we can control how we use it. And if we use it wisely, we can only benefit from it,
Yeah.
you know?
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, I mean, like you said, the whole time management thing, it's like, how do you really manage time? It's just really just how you use it.
Right. And
Maybe
I think what, then again too, I think even though I've scheduled, like I said, I schedule stuff, life happens, you also have to give yourself grace. Sometimes things do get in the way, you get a little derailed, but you just get back on. Don't feel bad, don't criticize yourself, don't come down on yourself. I think one of the things that we lack sometimes is give ourselves grace.
Oh yeah, definitely for sure. I'm
Hmm.
guilty of that one as well. It's like it kind of goes back to my whole thing about trying to find like a balance between productivity and rest. It's like most times I feel like I have to be doing something, but at the same time I don't want to like burn myself out at the same time or like burn both ends. So I think it's good to have be productive of course you have during the week and like, when the weekend comes like a Saturday or something, maybe you can do something and then rest at the same time, just, kind of take off Sunday or, however your week goes. You can kind of figure it out from there. But yeah, it's a constant it's something that's a work in progress for sure. Um,
Yes.
you know, I have to remind myself sometimes like it's okay to take a break because if you don't, it's like you're going to do more harm to yourself, and you're not really going to be able to accomplish what you're going to what you want to accomplish. So, like you said, it's just good to remind yourself to give yourself a little grace sometimes.
No, that's perfect. Yeah, because I do Sundays afternoons are usually Sunday afternoons or evenings are usually where I try not to. I call it my rest day. I mean, I'm still going to get my 10,000 steps. I'm going to do that, but I mean, I'm not doing anything that is going to require a lot of mental activity except maybe reading. And then I try to be done with whatever I'm doing at 9 at night, so that way I can meditate, then work on going to bed because we have a tendency of just going, 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 going. And yeah, when you want to be productive, you do need to take those breaks. You need to calm the mind, relax, because sometimes your creativity flow will be hindered if you don't allow just space,
Right.
be
Sometimes the best,
present.
yep, sometimes the best ideas come when you're not thinking too much.
Correct. Yes. Sometimes overthinking is a handicap. Yeah, you're right. Yes, 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 yes. No, so yeah, so I think yeah, time is something you want to treat as an investment like you do money. Because how you utilize your time determines the outcome of whatever you're doing. And that's basically what we've been trying to give examples how Kevin and I both work on manage our times. And you have heard and seen that we stumble too. We both talked about the YouTube rabbit hole. So it's just, it is what it is. But once you wake up and you realize, oops, I did it again,
Yeah.
you just keep going on.
Yeah. Yeah. So, so instead of time management, what would you say what would be a better term rather than time management?
I'm not sure if there's a better term because I know you brought up balance. Is there such thing as a work-life balance?
I mean, you can try to
How do
create
you,
it.
I think there's an equilibrium. I think it's always going to go like this. It's never going to be like the
Equal.
scales are going to stay balanced. There's always going to be this. Um, I think, I think it's really more about time utilization where,
I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah, I think that's a good term, time utilization, because you're not trying to manage it, but you're trying to utilize it wisely. So I think I like that. We're both on the same wavelength.
Yeah. Not management, utilization.
Yeah, utilization. How do you use it? Yeah, are you using it to your advantage or your disadvantage?
Correct.
It's like, yeah, because like I said in the beginning, it's like, yeah, we can have the mindset, oh, I'm too busy, there's not enough time, I'm too old, blah, 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 blah. Those are like plethora of excuses of why, but while you're making all those excuses, um, while you're making all those excuses, sorry, you could have been doing something.
Yeah. Yep. My mom asked. Well, I guess she still asks me this sometimes. She's like, "How did I improve myself today?" or something like that, or "What did I
Ah,
do today to improve myself?"
I
Yeah,
like that.
I think that's what it was. Now, most times when I have to search for the answer a little bit, I probably didn't do all that much, but like I said, I'm working on. I'm working on it.
Does she journal?
I don't believe so.
Okay. I sometimes journal like what what did I learn or what did I discover today? Just kind of a way of because again, our brains are so full of stuff. Do we take that pause at the end of the day to say, what did I accomplish? What did I learn? What did I
Yeah.
discover? Um, because yeah, if you don't know if your time is valuable without taking that reflection.
Right. It's kind of like a mental recap. It's like I
Right.
find myself doing like, okay, I went to do today. So what did I do today? Okay, so I went to work, but during the what, like in between, like during my break time, like how did I use that? Oh, I
Right.
did that during that, So okay,
Right.
so even though I had work most of the day, I still had, I guess, that moment of time where it's like I took it to do something productive, where it's like, okay, now it's okay to go home, just relax a little bit, and get ready for the next day.
There you go. Yep. Yeah, because I think that's important too. If you don't take a moment to recap, how did I do today? Did I use my time wisely? Did I just kind of, it was a day where I threw my hands in and just did all the wrong things, and then again, give yourself grace. Tomorrow's a new day.
Yeah, yeah, but yeah, definitely. Like I said, definitely a work in progress. But hey, we'll figure it out.
Well, I think we're all practitioners. There's no perfectionists, and I think that's the other human issue. This is all just a practice. You're building your practice. It's knowing, okay, this is where my time could be utilized better. Now I'm gonna try to practice this. And it's always fine tuning. It's never, like I said, I do my habit tracker every year. I look at it. Okay, these are the things I want as part of my daily routines because these are important to my self-care, to my growth. And then because goals are meaningless unless you have a plan to execute them, and
Correct.
that helps me execute them. And then that way it keeps me accountable to myself,
Yep.
and then I just move forward. But again, I leave myself every year to reassess it to see, okay, do I want to change out my workout routine? How many books do I want to read? All that type of stuff. So it's just an ongoing reassessment. Yeah, and practice.
Yeah. Uh, yeah. I think it's a pretty good topic here today.
It was a very good topic.
Way for both of us to kind of take stock in a sense.
Right. And again, it's January, and people do resolutions, and resolutions are one thing, but it's like resolutions are pointless if you don't put it into if you don't use time
Right.
utilization in there. It's like, oh, I'm going to do this, but I didn't schedule it, I didn't plan it, I didn't, sign up for this or whatever, or found myself accountability buddy. They're pointless. It's really about, are you going to use the time to accomplish that?
Yeah, I think we've stumbled upon something here, this whole time utilization something. I think we found
There you
something.
go. Writing it down because
Yeah.
I just think it's a better word. Yeah. And no, I think it was a great topic. And I think you and I are, even though we're two different generations, we both have had the same experiences of how we can be derailed on our time.
Yeah.
So, but I do have some announcements. So, on our website, and I'll put a link in there, I did do the year-end review of how we did in 2024, what money came in, how we utilized it, what assets we have. If you're a donor of the organization, last Saturday, the 18th, I gave out giving statements. So that's just your annual letter showing how much you gave during the year and for tax purposes, but also kind of lets you know what you did with that money to help Liberian youth. We are doing a student recruitment right now for our eighth cohort for vocational training. Our team was on Avent Radio this past week. We got a 50% scholarship, so we'll
Oh,
provide
nice.
information on that. Also last week, we had our first virtual tea time for 2025. This is an opportunity for people in the States or wherever to meet with our Liberian youth virtually. We always start with an icebreaker, then we do Q&A of the guests with the students, and then vice versa. Our icebreaker was, what was your hopes for 2025? Some of the feedback was peace and unity, um, their own educational process, and then, of course, see UDS continue to grow. And the other thing is, I think the seventh cohort is finally sealed down their graduation date of February 8th. That thing has been kind of flexible.
All right.
And then we have got the list of the 40 recipients of the Ishmael Gabbidon Memorial Scholarship. This is where we have 40 of our vocational or academic students from 7th to 11th grade that will be learning a trade skill. And computers was the most popular out of all the different courses. So, which says a lot, which is a communication device. It can be a
Yeah.
time utilizer or a time waster, depending
Def
on how you use it.
Definitely.
And Kevin and I will continue to work on other topics, but we welcome anybody who have any suggestions. We're focused on youth, whether it's here or Liberia, wherever. I think a lot of this can be very universal. We really, because they are the stars of tomorrow. You
Right.
know, Kevin is early on in his journey, but he's already learned a lot. He's already bringing stuff to the table. He's been building his career and he's going to continue to go from there. And we also want to catch that next generation that's coming into the workforce, either as an entrepreneur or being hired on to somebody, and to, give them that guidance, give them space to know, hey, anything's possible. These are just some tips and tools we like to provide people.
Yeah. And just going back to what Heather said, if you guys do have any ideas or on topics that you'd like us to talk about, definitely leave us some comments when you watch or listen to this. And who knows, we might just cover one of them. But yeah, you can find us on YouTube, and we'll probably post this on our other socials as well. So Twitter, Instagram, and yeah, just great having you guys.
Very much so. And so we'll be checking in next month. Please subscribe, share with others our podcast. We're trying to grow this. Kevin and I have a lot to learn yet to help promote this, to build this, but we are taking one step at a time. Like Kevin said earlier, we got the description, which I need to add to our YouTube channel, but that will be added. And but we are very excited to do this. Yeah, again, Kevin and I are two different generations, but we obviously have a lot in common and we understand certain things. And it was funny that we're both in the financial industry as our real jobs. So, so there's certain things we might share about our real jobs and we'll go from there. So thank you, everybody. We'll see you next month.
All right, have a good one.